Well, good morning, everyone, and better just acknowledge we're live streamed. Morning, everyone, and welcome to the February meeting. First one for the year, I suppose, full council meeting. So let's hope we can have some of them in the council chambers, but at the moment we're still stuck with Zoom. Apologies this morning. Item 1, we have, I have one from Hazel and one from Liz. Everyone else is here.
Jim, Jim, can I just, if I disappear, it's because we're having an outage of my service provider, internet service provider, and I don't know when they're doing the work. It could be over the next 2 days. So if I disappear, then it shouldn't be for too long. I could reappear again at some point. Okay, thanks, Susan. We'll see if we can get through the meeting, the formal part of it anyway, before you get taken off air. So we have those apologies. Graham moved. Oh, sorry, I had saw Lou's hand come up first. All those in favour? Aye. Aye. Contrary? Carried. Item 2, disclosures of members' interest. Do we have any this morning? I don't see any hands going up, so we assume there's none. Item 3, are there any late items? No late items, thank you. Confirmation of the order of the meeting. Were there any changes that we needed to consider, Gary, or is everything okay with the councillors in the order it is on the agenda?
No need for any changes as far as I'm aware, Mr. Chairman. Okay,
thanks, Gary. So can I have a mover and seconder that the order of the meeting be confirmed? Elwyn and Andrew, all those in favour? Aye. Aye. Contrary? Carried. Item 5, councillors' updates on any attendance at meetings or anything that you wish to bring up from the 2 months, I suppose, almost. Any update, Bruce?
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended our monthly ComSafe meeting, which is always very interesting. Just a few points. We're updating our phone system, which is quite archaic, really. People ring and don't get any answers, so that's well in progress. It was great that our Community Safety Officer, Mandy Merson, through her regular newsletters to the database, has been named News Person of the Year, which is quite amazing. And she's doing a fantastic job. We're currently doing an update of our vehicle fleet. We've got 3 vehicles, I think, and not all of them are reliable. So we are going to update those because we don't want to put anyone at risk, particularly at night. We're still getting plenty of people to volunteer, both to do the patrols and man CCTV, which has put a bit more pressure on. But we believe that the more people that get trained up, the less burden it is on individuals. So when they do a roster, they may only do it once a month, which is great. There's some safety issues at the police station with lighting it. The volunteers go to do the CCTV at night and a handrail. So we put a proposition to the police, and if they're unable to come to the task with any money, they might be pretty pushback sitting in Wellington at the moment. So ComSafe will front up with that from a safety issue and sort it out. So yeah, no, it's all going well. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Any other comments, Claire?
Yeah, thanks. I guess with the Ham Road detour for the heavy traffic on State Highway 39, I have visited a couple of the residents there and also been involved in a lot of the email traffic about trying to make sure that the detour is as safe as possible and the residents can live through it, because it's pretty disruptive, really. Brian's been really great. Brian Hudson, the transportation manager, but I think there's a lot of frustration that things don't seem to change, or little improvements. I think Dawn's working on getting some more action from Waka Kotahi, or the people that are responsible for that side of things. So it's just pretty frustrating, that's all. And then a couple of other things. I was part of a climate change podcast that's been put together by Go Eco in Hamilton, and there was a regional councillor and a Hamilton city councillor, and then myself with Waipa, and I was able to sort of give people a rundown of what council's doing, and also the consultation that we've got, you know, coming up for people to submit on, that has a climate change flavour really, and able to direct people to the waste minimisation officer's great program, and like the e-newsletter and things like that. So I'm hoping that you know, giving that information to people that are wanting to see some action, that at least they know what Waipara District Council has on offer for them. And then lastly, the Rangiaowhia commemorations were yesterday, and also I attended the karakia service on Sunday evening at St. Paul's at Hairene.
Thanks for that, Claire. Are there any other? Lou, and then Roger.
Yeah, quickly, we had the urban mobility workshop and the spatial plan workshops that we've been at, and also attended the, with you, Mayor Jim, the Lake Naroto, and just listened to what was going on about that, and sympathise very much that we got caught in the middle there, was being blamed probably inappropriately from what's happening at Lake Naroto. So that was interesting to hear what they actually had to say. Quite important. And just a piece of information for everybody, that the 4-acre block of land in Rangiaowhia was sold yesterday for $2 million and it was bought by the government to be land banked. So it's been, so I would say that that's pretty much going to go towards hosting the new marae out there. So that's right next to the Rangiaowhia Hall. So that was sold there, so information.
Thanks, Lou. It's a surprise that they managed to get themselves organised to get that purchase. So interesting. Yeah. Roger, I think you had your hand up, and then
yes,
Phil,
I did.
and then Graham.
Your Worship, thank you. Just out of a point of interest, we had a fire brigade call out last night to a fire that had been a result of some kids activating and sniffing cans, and the fire was underneath the sewer pipe. So actually, if that had got out of control, that would have put at risk our asset on that side. So it was luckily caught in time before it got too much of a hold. So just out of interest that, you know, we might have to look at seeing if we can tidy up that area. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Phil?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Morning, everyone. Just a couple of things of note. NZTA had a public presentation outside BNZ a couple of weeks ago in Cambridge, highlighting or showcasing the new roundabout at Pairiri, which was great. Good turnout of people there as well. So it's very supportive of that, and also had the opportunity then to personally talk to some NZA representatives with regards to from the expressway out to Pairiri along through Karapiro. So I used that opportunity to talk to them as well. Some of us went to the Te Awa cycle route, the river trail, on Thursday night. So it was just it's not the opening, it wasn't the official opening, but just a sneak preview of the river section from the Velodrome towards Hooker Road. And it's great to see that the Waipara section is going to be open on the 1st of March. So that's really great. It's just phenomenal that that route that they've done there. But when it's eventually all open through the Waikato and City Count through to the city, Hamilton City, it's just going to be an amazing route. So, and also just to congratulate the Cambridge Rotary Urban Miners for winning the Keep New Zealand Beautiful Community Award last Thursday night. That was all virtually done, the award ceremony. So it was just well done to them. So, and then there's a couple of us going to a dinner that they've invited us to on this Thursday night. So, yeah, so well done to them. It's really great effort. So, yep, thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Graham, I think you were next.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. Just had a land transport meeting yesterday over in at EW. A bit of a hold up that to the consent process for the Pairiri roundabout from one of the landowners there. The NZTA gave us a good update on probably 50 or 60 projects that were going on in the Waikato in the area. But the one that's interesting for us is the extended 4-lane highway to Pairiri from the end of our expressway. So they've completed a detailed business case, which has been endorsed by the board, and they've identified the 16-kilometre route and going back out to talk to the landowners. And I think we did the same thing about 5 or 6 years ago, so it's a rewrite of that. Once the route protection is secured, the next stages of funding are confirmed, because at the moment no funding has been allocated for the construction of the 16-kilometre extension to the expressway. The total cost of the project is currently estimated to be $635 million, and it's not expected to be designed or even started to get some dirt going until 2027 or 2030. I made the comment that I believe that delay is going to cost some lives on that road, because, as Phil would know, you know, they had a big 5-car pile up in Hickey Road, then there's Hydro Road, and then there's Karapiro. So I laid it a bit on the line about the situation, because we have continuing new guys coming in and going off from NZTA, and they don't really have an appreciation of what's happening there. So yeah, that's the big thing for me, and it's still not in the funding stage at this stage. And we also are putting in a submission to support the road user charges for electric vehicles. So yeah, a good meeting, and good to catch up with the guys again. Yeah, everybody was well spaced out, and when a visitor came in, we just put on our masks, and it went well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Graham. That's really an issue that we really need to keep supporting as hard as we can, because I think you're right. There's no doubt that there'll be more serious accidents along that route.
Yeah.
So obviously.
Your wish.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Graham, for that update. That was thank you for that. It was really appreciative. What, just out of interest, what was the cost originally to do the expressway when National were going to do it start about 2 years ago? Does anyone know that?
No, I'm not familiar with that costing at all.
Yeah. So 600 million.
635. Yep. At this stage, you can bet that's going to be going up. Yeah.
No, cool.
And
thanks,
sorry, Jim, what I meant to say was no more information on the southern links.
No, and that's a major issue for Waipara as well. And
yeah.
The last discussion that I was involved with, there was some talk about even doing sections of it, even if the total southern links weren't done, and particularly the crossing at the Narrows. You know, that's going to become a real bottleneck. So. So that issue is another one that's really impacting on Waipara. Thanks, Graham. Mike.
Yeah, thank you through Your Worship. Not so much attending the meeting, but just having had some traffic from various residents just around the situation of the Enviro waste and the transfer station down at Matt-Sos-Sergeson Drive over here in Cambridge. And I guess just the unacceptable nature of the situation. It's been closed since August, and there's sort of not, the uncertainty around it. And just walking around the district, I walk up my car each morning, you can see this fly tipping that's quite evident. So yeah, there's definitely some frustration over there around the sort of lack of being able to dump rubbish at will, but also having a transfer station to try and do the right thing in our town, outside of the bins, etc.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. It's an ongoing problem, isn't it, trying to manage waste disposal, I suppose. So, we obviously need to be looking at that. Any other comments? Look, from my perspective, apart from a couple of meetings, the Lake Naroto and the Te Awa river ride opening, my calendar has been pretty clear. I get appointments and then cancellations probably following up a few days later as the COVID situation changes, but that's going to be continuing to be a significant problem for us, I think, over at least the next 2 to 3 months. Just following the overseas experience, we're going to have a peak. There's nothing surer than that. Just how serious it is with our high vaccination rates, we'll only be able to wait and see, and hopefully there isn't unnecessary deaths or hospitalizations because of the unvaccinated and potentially vaccinated getting the disease. So look, it's going to be a challenging a period of time, I think, and we just really need to work with central government to try and keep that curve flattened as much as we can. The Te Awa river ride, yeah, that would have been a great opportunity for us to encourage the public to come in great numbers, but it'll be a soft opening, I believe. But the section in Waipa is spectacular with the walkways, the boardwalks, and the route that it's taken alongside the river. So it's a really special part of that. I suppose what will become a great ride for the country from Ngaruawahia right through to Karapiro. So look, I believe that the opening through Waikato and Hamilton City is not that far away either. So that's something to look forward to. But the main focus really, I think, for all of us probably in the next short while are all of these reforms that we're going to be talking about today in workshops with Future of Local Government, Three Waters and the Resource Management Act reforms. So I'll leave that discussion till then, but that really is really going to set the scene for what local government looks like in the next I suppose medium to long term, and I think we really need to put our best efforts into making sure that we are supporting our communities to actually have some say in their future. And at the moment, the move to centralisation is still there, and I suppose the push that we want to see happening is more localism. So trying to get the best out of these changes, our opportunity is now, and that's where we need to be putting some real effort in with our submissions. So, and Gary's working hard on that. But apart from that, unless there's anyone else that's got anything that they've thought of, we'll move on to item 6, which is the confirmation of the minutes of the 14th of December. And can I have a mover and seconder to receive those? Marcus and Roger. Oh, sorry, Phil. All those in favour?
Yep. Aye.
Contrary, carried. I think there's 14 pages or something. So just quickly moving through those, if there's any alterations or discussion on those minutes. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It looks all pretty clear. 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So there's no alterations or corrections of those minutes. Everyone's happy.
Move. Yeah, move.
Roger's moved, seconded Lou. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary, carried. Thank you for that. Item 7 is contracts for reporting. Gary.
Thank you, Worship. So these are really matters that or contracts that were signed during the Christmas break, because they required to be approved during that period when council wasn't operating. But the other thing, of course, is the application of the council seal to those warrants. So there were 3 contracts or infrastructure works agreements that have followed the standard form of those infrastructure works agreements. Just the dollars have changed in those, but happy to make those contracts or works agreements available to any councillor individually if you want to have a look at the content of those. And the others, of course, are those warrants for the development engineering team leader, project engineer, and the building compliance officer.
Yeah. Okay, any questions, clarification? Everyone happy with that? Can have someone to move the recommendation A through to D. Everyone's happy. Mike and Claire, all those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that. Item 8, amendment to the community spatial plan project. Ms. Kirsty.
Your Worship, apologies from Kirsty today. So perhaps I can lead this matter, and Vanessa is there in the background if you've got any sort of detail that you want to cover off. But critically, we're looking for 2 things. One is a change to the Waipa Community Spatial Plan Control Group terms of reference, where we currently say there will be no alternates. Reflecting on the position that we have with the iwi Consultative Committee, iwi have asked that we provide for alternates who should have speaking rights but no voting rights. So if you agree with that proposition, then we have a number of alternates that have been put forward to us for consideration, and who we regard as people who are quite capable of fulfilling the role of alternates. So 2 propositions. One is to change the terms of reference, and the other is to appoint those alternates.
Thanks, Gary. From my perspective, it's really important that we get iwi involvement and points of view. So I certainly haven't got any problem with the proposition and the recommendation. But are there any comments that anyone has? Mike?
Yeah, just to through you, Jim. Just to reiterate that too. I think the concept's really sound. It gives continuity. And I agree, the initial names that have been put forward are very strong names who are well connected, but also, they are well connected and more than capable of filling in. So yeah, totally support it. And when the time comes, happy to move that, Jim.
Thanks, Mike. Are there any other queries of Vanessa or Gary? Andrew?
No, I'm happy to second. Thank you.
Okay. So if there's no other discussion, I have a mover and seconder. Mike moved, Andrew second. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that. Item 9.
Thank you.
Determination of order of candidates for the triennial election.
Thank you.
Yeah, Gary.
Thank you, Worship. Joe is here as the Deputy Returning Officer, but critically, it's a matter we consider every 3 years, and that's the order that Council has the ability to make a decision on whether we have a random order or alphabetical order for the voting papers. Now, traditionally, Waipa has gone for a random order. Seems to be the most fair and equitable way of running this process. And that indeed is the recommendation. But Joe is here to answer any questions if I get caught short.
Gary, were there any questions? I don't know where this 3 years has gone when you chuck in COVID in the middle of it. It's just amazing, isn't it? It's that we're now into another election cycle. But anyway, that's an aside. But as Gary has said, it's something we've got to do every 3 years, and I agree that it's the fairest way. It's a random selection. Andrew, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just would say I totally agree that the random selection is the most equitable way, and I'm more than happy to move the recommendation.
Thanks, Andrew. Is there a seconder?
I'll second, Jim.
Oh, Phil, that was you. Yeah, so moved. Andrew seconded. Phil. If there's no further discussion, all those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary? Carried. Item 10, delegations. Gary, are you handling this one?
I was hoping Diana would be here to handle this one, Your Worship, but somewhat
And
more
she is on screen, Gary, if you can't see us.
I was looking for the position, not the face. Sorry, Diana. But critically, we've got some new legislation and some consequential amendments to standing orders. But Diana, do you just want to work us through your high points in this report, and then we'll put it over to the elected members for questions, if you agree, Your Worship.
Thank you, Gary. Kia ora koutou, Your Worship and councillors. So my report is to seek updates to the council delegations and also to the standing orders. I'll take the paper as read, but I'll just highlight the key changes for you all. The first two changes as a result of new legislation. So we had the new Water Services Act at the end of 2021, and also we had the new Trade Waste and Wastewater Bylaw as well. The predecessor legislation, we delegated all the council functions and powers to the chief executive, who then sub-delegated on to relevant staff within the organisation. So the paper is seeking a similar approach in this case. We would delegate to the chief executive the functions under that legislation, and then those would be sub-delegated to staff afterwards. The other change is to the Resource Management Act, which is just as a result of updates to the development engineering team, as well as a few other minor modifications, which is shown in the appendices to the report. And finally, the changes were in relation to seek to update the delegations in light of contingency planning for COVID-19. One of the tasks for sort of seeking to plan for Omicron within the organisation was to look at the delegations to make sure that we had appropriate delegations in place to ensure proper business continuity. So there were two sort of main changes that were made as a result of that. The first was to the Executive Committee. So as you might recall, in the beginning of 2020, when this all began, the Executive Committee was created and it enabled that committee to meet in the event that other committees weren't able to. So we re-looked at that delegation and found that we needed to update it in light of changes to legislation. So we have done that in the appendices, which shows it's effectively the same members, but what we have done is move the quorum over to the standing orders, which is consistent with the quorum for other council committees. So that quorum is only 2 members, but obviously that they only meet in the event that any of the council committees are unable to form a quorum. So it's just to sort of deal with that contingency planning. The other change that we made was in relation to council delegations directly to officers. We wanted to sort of have delegations in place in the event that key staff members were unable to form their functions. So we've suggested that adding a delegation, so in the event that an executive team member is unable to physically perform their delegated functions because of COVID-19, another executive team member can exercise those functions instead, but they first have to consult with members of the relevant team to ensure that they're appropriately informed. So we're hoping these won't need to be used, but we want to thought it'd be prudent to set these delegations up in the event that they need to be used.
Thanks, Diana. It makes sense, obviously, and we still don't know what is likely to happen with this COVID and Omicron in particular. So, look, are there any questions of Diana? Everyone happy with the changes?
I'm happy to move, Your Honour. Your Honour, Your Worship. God, I've elevated you now.
Elevated? I don't know about that.
No, I think it makes sense, and as you say, we hope it's not used.
Yeah. Thanks, Bruce.
Might increase your pay levels, Jim.
Bruce has moved, and I did see some hands going up to second it, but I didn't.
I'll second, Jim.
Oh, thanks, Susan. And Susan second the recommendation A through to J.
Through your worship, just to note, because one of the recommendations involves an amendment to the standing order, there needs to be 75% approval, just to note.
It will be unanimous.
All right, good, great.
So, all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and I didn't see any dissenting voices, so you can take it that we've reached that threshold. So I've put it, so it's carried, and we're moving now on to item 11, which was a resolution to exclude the public for discussion on the next 4 items.
Happy to move that.
Claire has moved and Andrew second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Contrary?